That's Lou.
I'm Recovery Mom.
I have a question.
And we have a question. So I thought I would jump on live, answer this question, and then I will just post it.
Someone said, "Hi, Recovery Mom. I have a question. I feel like
hot dog were good.
I feel like unlike other illnesses, EDs aren't taken as seriously and can be seen as just self-harm we inflict on ourselves and not an actual problem with our brain chemicals and hormones. As if our EDs aren't invalidating enough, we have people around us doing the same. Thank you for making these videos. They're majorly helpful and can be helpful for recovery."
Okay. So, can I look at that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, my friends, let's talk about this question. So, first I would like to say you're right. People don't understand what an eating disorder is, and that's because for years we've been only thinking of it from a psychological perspective, right? Not from like a biological evolutionary perspective. Much in the same way that we've been thinking of autism or schizophrenia as being like the mother's fault, you know, like they used to think autism, they used to think autism was caused by like refrigerator moms or moms that were too like distant and cold. And they used to think anorexia was caused by controlling mothers and things like that. And we have just learned that's not the case. But a lot of people haven't caught up to that new way of thinking, to this new, research that they've done in the area. So, first of all, you have to make sure that the people in your life understand what an eating disorder really is. And that's kind of tricky to do.
I'm full.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We're sharing a hot dog from Costco. I don't know why I said that with a weird accent, but I did. Anyway.
That old lady who looks like she's about to die just watched you hold up that hot dog. She looked hungry.
Maybe she was hungry.
She's literally in the
Okay, so anyway, I'm just reading your question again. So a lot of times people do see it as self-harm or like you're doing it to yourself. I remember when I first told my dad that I had an eating disorder.
Nobody knows how to look.
These are the weirdest lids.
Aren't they amazing though that you don't get any ice in your mouth?
Oh.
Right?
Okay, I see now.
I know.
I see now. You are correct. They are pretty cool. Let me try again.
It's so bizarre. I wonder if that's how all of those lids are supposed to go.
Did you guys know that? We were supposed to push the lid in, not out.
Isn't that so interesting? Right. I told you.
Huh. I'm going to have to think about that. Okay. Back to the question. So when I told my dad about my ED, I can remember him saying, "Okay, well now you know you'll just eat, right? Now you know that you have an eating disorder, you can just eat." It was really hard for him to, I'm just going to go with it, because if anything, maybe it's recording it, we could just post it.
If anything, you can re-record on your camera.
I can't talk.
Oh my god, why are we backing up?
my
Please
God.
don't. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Stop! Oh my...
I like old people.
That was the third old person who said I need a horn.
Yeah, you do need a horn. Lou does not have a horn right now in her car, in their car. So anyway, back to what we were talking about before we were completely terrified. I would encourage you to try to do a few things to fix this issue. So let me see if it's with specific people. Okay, so it doesn't say if it's like with your family or something. So there's a couple different things that I specifically did when it came to this problem in my own life. There's some people that you can educate, okay? There's some people that are willing to be educated, that can be educated, that kind of want to learn. And those people, let's educate them. So like Dr. Geisinger's Adapted to Famine website has some wonderful things that you can download for your families that talk about eating disorders, okay? It talks about why we get them, where they come from. It shows brain imaging scans of people with eating disorders versus people without. Some amazing stuff on there. And I would print that stuff, and I took it to my parents and showed them, to show them that it was a real thing happening in my brain. This wasn't just me choosing not to eat today for funsies, right?
For shits and giggles.
Yeah, for shits and giggles. I was like, I'm just
literal
not,
shits and giggles.
I just want attention today. I'm not gonna eat. Like, come on, really? I mean, we fucking miss pancakes. Yeah. So anyway, that's one place that you could start. Get some information into their hands, the people that you feel like need to know this. And there's some really good information there. And me and Lou also have, I gotta figure out how to link my pamphlet so people can print it themselves. So figure out how to do that. We also have a pamphlet that we're gonna hand out. We're done with it now.
She could put it on her website?
I don't know. I'll have to find out. We'll find out.
Because then you can always just tell them it's on there.
True.
Maybe she'll build you a whole new tab.
Oh my
for all your
God.
pamphlets.
Okay, anyway. So let's educate the people that we can educate. And another thing that I did was like, when it came with my dad also, when he told me to just eat, I was thinking like, how can I explain this to him in a way that he could understand? And so my dad was afraid of spiders. And so think about something that the people
Is he actually?
He is afraid
What a
of spiders.
bitch.
He does not like spiders.
Just kidding.
And Grandma's terrified of mice. It's really funny. But Grandpa does not like
women
spiders.
are allowed to be scared of things. Men aren't allowed to be scared of anything.
How gendered. How sexist. Oh my gosh. That's terrifying for you to say that.
Terrifying?
Yes. Okay, so.
Anyways, after our short bout with
Death?
sexism.
Oh.
Oh my god! Get your hot.
All right. So, while Lou's out of the car for a minute, thank goodness. I sat my dad down and I said, hey Dad, I want you to imagine that you're going to eat breakfast and you're going to sit down and I'm going to serve you breakfast, okay? And then when I bring you breakfast, it's covered in spiders, okay? And he was like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. What? I wouldn't eat that. I wouldn't blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're right. You wouldn't eat that. You would be terrified. So maybe you skip that meal, okay? But then lunch comes and you're extra hungry because you hadn't eaten breakfast, right? But guess what? Lunch is covered in spiders too. Wouldn't you be terrified? And eventually, you'd have to pick around the spiders and try to eat a little bit because now you're literally starving to death. And it's the same thing when you have an eating disorder. When we are presented with food, our amygdala lights up. That brain spot, that flight or fright or whatever it is, fawn or freeze, that spot in your brain lights up and it's activated, just like if a lion were coming in the room or like, something extremely terrifying has happened. So that would be the same thing as serving my dad a plate of food with spiders all over it. And when I put it to him that way, he was a little bit more able to understand the kind of fear that I'm talking about. We're not just talking about, oh, I'm a little afraid of surprise food. We're literally terrified of food because if we're in a famine environment and we're trying to migrate, we cannot stop to eat a little bit of food. We have to keep going and keep moving. We stop eating, we just keep going. And so that was one way that I explained it to my dad. If somebody's afraid of flying, you could talk about flying. Any of those major fears that people have that lights up your amygdala, that like primal spot, your lizard brain back there, that's what being presented with food does for us. That's what we're dealing with every time we eat. Just because we're eating or we get closer to our set point or we are able to get down 3 meals a day, that doesn't mean that's not lighting up still every time. It still is terrifying for us. It's horrifying. And so sometimes it helps to get those loved ones in our life to understand the type of fear that we actually are dealing with 6 times a day.
Maybe
every
that block
day.
on the screen is an error message that we can't see.
That would be hysterical because I'm talking away. It's been like 10 minutes now. So anyway, that's one way that I deal with people feeling that way. And another way I deal with people feeling that way is if they're the type of people that you can't educate, right? They're like coworkers or like, although I literally educate coworkers at this point. I just kind of tell anybody that will listen.
Yeah, same.
But there's going to be people in your life that you just can't talk about this stuff around. And then there's not a lot you can do about it. They're going to think what they're going to think, and you just have to know that you're right. You just have to know that eating the food and doing what you have to do to recover is the right thing to do.
And maybe they'll see you down the line and change their mind.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll see you happy and recovered and realize.
All right, let me read that question and make sure we answered it all.
I delivered to IHOP yesterday, and the lady who came up to me, she's like, "Hi, welcome to Domino's." She didn't realize until somebody told her that she said Domino's.
That's hysterical.
I know. I was like, "Oh, I thought it was a joke."
Oh my god. Okay, so anyway, yes, your comment and question went on to talk about how people invalidate eating disorders, and they do, because it's looked at as just some like silly little psychological thing that we're just like bratty kids not wanting to eat, and they don't quite understand the depth of what's really happening. And it's horrifying what's happening to us, and it's terrifying, and it takes years to get over it. And also on Dr. Geisinger's website, there is some pamphlets to print out, and then on our pamphlet that we're going to put together, it just goes through all the hormonal changes. And so so many of your hormones, I don't know, just like, I don't know, good luck. So many of your hormones are increased when they should be decreased when they should be increased. Like the opposite of what's really happening to somebody else. When you have anorexia, it's
Your
doing the
PP
opposite.
goes up.
Yes, your CCK goes up. That's why you get full so fast. That's why it's hard to eat. That's why you're afraid of certain foods. All of these things have a biological reason. And so if anybody wants to reach out to me, like through my Instagram DM or like my TikTok or whatever, I will absolutely send you like a photo or JPEG or something of my pamphlet that describes all the hormonal changes in an eating disorder, because it's really important for you to be aware of what's happening in your body. And so I guess, after 13 minutes of literally almost dying and ranting, what I really want to end with is that there's two kind of people when it comes to, the people in your life when you have an eating disorder. There's the people that you can really talk to, educate, learn with, right? Discover about eating disorders and the reality of what they are and how your hormones change and the genetic component, the evolutionary perspective. And then there's the people who you can't. And those people who you can't, there's not a lot you can do. You just have to educate where you can, right? I mean, could you imagine? It drives me crazy when I hear people talk about it in just a purely psychological way, because that's not the case. We're fighting an evolutionary biological battle. It's enormous. And it is frustrating when people don't have the capacity to want to understand and learn about that. But they're just not in that place and they can't. So we just have to keep our head up and do our thing and keep eating the food and keep recovering and know you're doing the right thing. And if they are in a place that they can maybe understand, wonderful. If there's not a lot you can do if they're not open to learning, right? There's not a lot. There's been some people in my life that just haven't been open to learning about it. And it was sad, and I was hoping they would, because it also hurts us when we're left with this feeling, because then those people are looking at us like we're less than, or like we're not trying hard enough, or like we're not doing we're not doing well in recovery and it's our fault. So then it puts a lot of blame on us, and I get that. But also, we're not going to change those people. And so getting upset and frustrated is just going to take away from our job, which is to eat more food, gain more weight, and recover. So anyway, I'm not even sure if this recorded, but if it did, I'm sure somehow it will post onto YouTube. I'll figure it out. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. If you have any more questions, let me know, and I will try to fill them. I'm going to go eat the rest of this hot dog now before it gets even colder than it is. Okay. Now I gotta figure out how to stop it. Okay.